Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Podcast Center. I'm Marco, and today we have a really exciting debate for you.
Yes, today we're talking about something fun, but also very important. Should animals be kept in zoos?
Well, zoos are great places to see wild animals up close. They help protect endangered animals and teach people about nature.
That's true, but on the other hand, animals might feel trapped in cages. They belong in the wild, not in a zoo.
That's an interesting point. I guess we have a lot to discuss today. So, listeners, what do you think? Should animals live in zoos, or should they be free in nature?
Let's dive into this debate and find out.
All right, Katharina, let's start. I think zoos are good because they protect animals. Some animals are in danger in the wild because of hunters or pollution. Zoos keep them safe.
But Marco, even if zoos protect animals, they are still stuck in cages. Animals love to run, jump, and explore. In a zoo, they don't have much space to do that.
That's true, but zoos also help people learn about animals. Many kids never get to see a lion or a giraffe in real life. In zoos, they can see these animals and learn how to take care of nature.
But Marco, is it fair to keep animals in a zoo just so we can see them? Imagine if you were locked in a small room all day. Wouldn't you feel sad and bored?
I see what you mean, but what about endangered animals? Some animals, like pandas and tigers, might disappear forever if zoos don't help them.
That's a good point. But instead of keeping them in zoos, we can protect their homes in the wild. National parks and nature reserves are better than small cages.
I guess zoos are not perfect, but they do help in some ways. Maybe we need better zoos with more space for animals to move and play.
Or maybe we need fewer zoos and more wild places for animals to live freely.
Katharina, I have another question for you. What about sick or injured animals? If an animal gets hurt in the wild, there's no one to help. But in a zoo, doctors can take care of them and help them get better.
That's a good point, Marco. But do all zoos take good care of animals? Some zoos don't have enough space, food, or good doctors. Animals can get sad, sick, or even bored in bad zoos.
That's true, but there are also good zoos that give animals big spaces to run and play. Some zoos even try to release animals back into the wild when they are ready.
I like that idea, but still, I think animals are happier in their natural homes. A tiger should be in the jungle, not in a zoo. A dolphin should swim in the ocean, not in a small pool.
But what if there's no jungle left for the tiger? People are cutting down forests, and animals are losing their homes. Maybe zoos are the only safe place for some animals now.
That's so sad. I wish people would stop destroying nature. If we protect forests and oceans, animals won't need zoos at all.
Yeah, maybe the real problem is not the zoos. Maybe it's how we treat nature.
That's a really good point, Marco. Maybe we should talk about how to protect nature in our next episode.
Katharina, what about the scientists who work in zoos? They study animals and learn more about how to protect them. If we didn't have zoos, how would they learn?
That's a good question, Marco. But scientists can study animals in the wild too. They can use cameras, trackers, and other tools to watch animals without keeping them in cages.
But in the wild, it's harder to study them up close. In a zoo, scientists can check their health, learn what they eat, and even help them have babies if they are endangered.
I understand, but do you think animals like being watched all the time? Imagine if people were always staring at you and taking pictures. Wouldn't that be annoying?
Maybe, but I think animals in good zoos are treated well. Some zoos don't even have cages. They have big open spaces where animals can move around freely.
That's true, but some animals still act differently in zoos. They don't hunt for food, they don't travel far, and they don't live in big groups like they do in the wild.
Yeah, I guess no zoo can be exactly like the wild, but what about kids? If kids see animals in zoos, they might care more about nature and grow up wanting to protect animals.
That's a great idea, but we can also show kids animals in documentaries, safaris, or nature parks. That way, kids can learn without animals being trapped.
It sounds like we both have good points. Maybe zoos can be better, or maybe we need more nature parks instead.
Yeah, and maybe people should work harder to protect animal homes so they don't need zoos at all.
Katharina, I just thought of something. What about people who can't travel to see wild animals? Not everyone can go on a safari or visit a jungle. Zoos give them a chance to see animals up close.
That's true, Marco. But is it fair to keep animals in small spaces just so people can see them? Animals are not for entertainment. They have their own lives, and they should be free.
But zoos don't just entertain people. They also teach people about animals. When kids see an elephant in real life, they might care more about saving them.
I agree that learning about animals is important, but there are better ways to do it. We have amazing wildlife documentaries, virtual reality, and nature parks where animals are free.
Okay, but what about petting zoos? Some zoos let kids touch and feed animals, which helps them feel connected to nature.
That sounds fun, but not all animals like to be touched. Some animals get scared or stressed when too many people are around them.
That makes sense. I guess we need to make sure that zoos are really good places for animals, not just fun for people.
Exactly. Instead of spending money on zoos, we should spend more on saving nature and helping animals live in the wild.
Maybe the best thing is to find a balance. Some zoos do great work, but we also need to focus on protecting wild animals in their homes.
Yes, and we can all help by learning more about animals, taking care of nature, and supporting places that keep animals safe and happy.
Katharina, I think we both agree that animals should be safe and happy. But let me ask you this, if we close all zoos, where will the animals go? Many of them were born in zoos and don't know how to survive in the wild.
That's a tricky problem, Marco. Some zoo animals might not survive if they are released. But instead of keeping them in cages forever, we can slowly help them return to nature.
How would that work?
Well, there are wildlife sanctuaries where animals live in big, open areas. People take care of them, but the animals still live almost like they do in the wild.
That sounds like a good idea, but do sanctuaries have enough space for all the animals in zoos? Some zoos have thousands of animals.
That's why we should only have zoos for rescue and care, not for keeping animals forever. If an animal can go back to the wild, we should help it.
Okay, I see your point, but some animals, like pandas, are still endangered. If zoos help them have more babies, isn't that a good thing?
Yes, but why are pandas endangered in the first place? It's because humans are destroying their homes. Instead of keeping them in zoos, we should protect their forests so they don't need zoos at all.
That's a great idea. So maybe instead of arguing about zoos, we should be talking about how to take better care of nature.
Exactly. If we protect the environment, animals won't need zoos. They'll have safe homes in the wild.
Wow, this debate has really made me think. I still believe zoos can help, but I also see why animals should be free. What do you think, listeners?
Yes, do you think zoos are good for animals, or should they live in the wild? Let us know.
Katharina, I have another question. What if some animals actually like living in zoos? They don't have to hunt for food, they are safe from predators, and they get medical care. Isn't that a good life for them?
I see what you mean, Marco. But even if animals are safe in zoos, are they really happy? Some animals, like lions and tigers, love to run long distances in a zoo. They can't do that.
That's true, but not all animals need a lot of space. Some smaller animals might feel comfortable in zoos, especially if they have the right food, care, and environment.
Yes, but what about big animals like elephants and whales? In the wild, elephants walk for miles every day. In a zoo, they live in small enclosures that can make them stressed and unhappy.
I think you're right about big animals. Maybe zoos should only keep small animals or animals that actually need help, like injured or endangered ones.
That's a good idea. Zoos shouldn't be like animal prisons. They should be places that help animals and set them free when possible.
So maybe instead of closing all zoos, we should improve them. Make them bigger, more natural, and only for animals that really need help.
Yes, and we should all work to protect nature so that animals don't need zoos in the first place.
Wow, this was a great discussion. I started by thinking zoos were really good, but now I see there are many problems too.
And I learned that some zoos actually help animals, not just keep them in cages.
So, listeners, what do you think? Should we have zoos or should all animals live in the wild? Let us know your thoughts.
Yes, and don't forget to take care of nature and respect animals whether they are in zoos or in the wild.
Katharina, we've talked a lot about space and freedom, but what about the animals that are rescued by zoos? Some animals get hurt in the wild and can't survive on their own. Zoos save them.
That's true, Marco. But do all zoos focus on rescuing animals? Some zoos buy animals just to attract visitors. That's not really saving them, is it?
I guess not all zoos are the same. But the ones that do rescue animals are doing something important, right?
Yes, I think real rescue centers are great. But do you know what would be even better? Helping animals before they need to be rescued?
How would we do that?
By protecting their homes. If people stop cutting down forests and polluting oceans, fewer animals will need to be rescued in the first place.
That makes sense, but let's be honest, some animals are already in danger. If we don't have zoos or rescue centers, what will happen to them?
That's why I think rescue centers are good. But regular zoos, where animals are just kept for people to look at, are not really helping.
Maybe the problem isn't zoos themselves, but the way they are run. What if all zoos focused on rescuing and protecting animals, not just displaying them?
That would be a big improvement. But I still think animals should only stay in zoos if they can't live in the wild. What do you think, Marco?
I think we need to find a balance. Maybe not all zoos are bad, but they should change to be better for animals.
Marco, I think we've covered a lot of important points. We both agree that animals deserve respect and care, but we see different ways to do that.
Yes, some zoos do great work by rescuing and protecting animals, but others might not be the best place for them.
That's why we need to ask, are zoos really helping animals, or are they just keeping them for people to see?
And if zoos must exist, they should be big, natural, and focused on saving animals, not just for entertainment.
Exactly. The best solution might not be closing all zoos but changing them to be better for animals.
So, it seems like we don't completely disagree. We both want what's best for the animals.
That's right. And maybe the most important thing is to teach people to care for nature so animals don't need zoos at all.
This debate has really made me think, but I wonder what our listeners think.
Yes, what about you, listeners? Do you think zoos should exist, or should animals only live in the wild? Tell us what you think.
Wow, what a discussion. I feel like we both learned a lot today. Katharina?
Yes, Marco, we started with very different ideas, but in the end, we both agree on one big thing: animals deserve a safe and happy life.
Right. Whether in a zoo or in the wild, animals should be treated with care and respect. No animal should suffer just for human entertainment.
And that's why it's important to ask, are zoos really doing their best for animals? Or should we focus more on protecting nature and creating better rescue centers?
I think the answer isn't simple. Some zoos do great work, but others need to change. Maybe the future of zoos should be more like wildlife sanctuaries, big, natural spaces where animals can live more freely.
That would be amazing. Instead of keeping animals in small cages, zoos could become places that heal, protect, and prepare animals for the wild.
And that's something we can all think about, right? What kind of world do we want for animals? Should we focus on better zoos, or should we work harder to protect nature so animals don't need zoos at all?
Great question, and that's where we turn to you, our listeners. What do you think?
Should zoos exist, or should all animals live in the wild? Do zoos help or hurt animals? Let us know in the comments or send us a message.
We'd love to hear your opinions. And don't forget, no matter what side you're on, we can all do something to help animals and protect nature.
That's right. Even small actions like learning about wildlife, supporting good zoos, or helping protect forests can make a difference.
So let's all do our part and keep this conversation going. Keep thinking, keep questioning, and most of all, keep caring for our planet.
Well, Katharina, this has been such an interesting debate. I never thought so much about the way zoos work before.
Me neither, Marco, but now I see that it's not just a simple question of good or bad. It's about how we treat animals and whether zoos are really helping them.
Exactly. The world is changing, and maybe zoos need to change too. Maybe the zoos of the future will look more like wildlife parks instead of cages.
That would be amazing. Imagine a world where animals can be safe, happy, and free, whether in the wild or in a place that truly protects them.
And that's why it's important for all of us to think, learn, and take action. The more we know, the better we can help animals and nature.
Yes, we can support animal sanctuaries, protect wildlife, and even educate others about the best ways to care for animals.
So, listeners, now it's your turn. What do you think? Should zoos exist, or should all animals live in the wild? Do zoos help, or do they need to change?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. You can share your opinions in the comments, send us a message, or even start a debate with your friends and family.
And remember, no matter where you stand in this debate, we all have one big responsibility to care for animals and protect the planet.
That's right. So let's be kind, let's be thoughtful, and let's make the world a better place for all living things.
This has been such a great discussion, and I can't wait for our next debate.
Me too, Marco. We'll be back soon with another fun and exciting topic.
Until next time, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep making a difference.
See you all in the next episode.
Bye, everyone!